Hello. So I did a video on the new Stygian Onslaught a few days ago, and I wasn't planning to make another video about it, but one of my comments said,
Now do it without post-Natlan characters. It's not interesting to see new characters, everyone can clear with them.
okay. The first boss we're going to tackle is the Aeon Blight Drake. We start the fight by building some energy while waiting out Arlecchino's mark, so Arle into Emily into Bennett for a ton of particles, and since Navia is solo Geo, I decided to give her the Sacrificial Greatsword, which is a really good weapon for her here because it has high base attack, single-handedly fixes her energy issues with 30% ER and an extra skill cast for particles, and this extra skill cast also allows her to deal more damage, so it's just perfect here. After that, the Drake gets pyro resistances, so we move on to Navia, and we want to use her burst before Bennett's so we don't waste any Bennett buff uptime. And talking about Bennett's buff, there's a reason why I chose those two characters in particular. Throughout the run, you will often see me alternate between Navia and Emily, and there's a good reason for this. Emily is a character that would really enjoy getting Bennett's buff, but there's rarely a reason to on-field her instead of your carry. But because Navia can have such short field time, since most of her damage comes from her skill, we can alternate between both characters within Bennett's circle to keep nearly permanent uptime on both Emily and Navia. Also, the boss has a short window where you can deal damage before it switches resistances, so we use this time to front load some Geo damage with Navia's skills before it gets to increase resistances to Geo, and then we switch back to Arlecchino. And since I couldn't use Arlecchino when the boss had power resistances, it allowed me to fully stack her Bone of Life, so I can give her more field time before having to start a new rotation, which allows me to very quickly push the Drake to the final phase. Then it's just a matter of doing our Navia Emily shenanigans again, and we should have more than enough time left to clear it. Anyway, we wait out our final skills cooldown, and finish off the Drake with our umbrella. The second boss we're gonna deal with is the Crab, and I found some pretty cool strategies for this guy. First, at the beginning of the fight, you can apply Dendro to the boss, and then apply Hydro just before he flies away to generate a Bloom Seed. Then you're just going to run to the opposite side of the room and let this Bloom Seed naturally explode, which will instantly clear between 2 to 4 seeds depending on RNG. Then it's just a matter of dealing as much damage as we can by switching around our characters as efficiently as possible, but there's 3 things to keep in mind to prepare for the next shield phase. First, try to bait the Crab towards the seeds so you can hit both of them consistently. Secondly, if you're using Kuki Shinobu, do not use her burst, we will need it for later. Thirdly, the Crab is going to dash attack towards you sometimes, and you will see me instantly dash behind him because we want to keep him close to the middle of the stage. After that, we keep dealing damage to the Crab, but he's going to fly away for the second shield phase around the 50 seconds mark. So to prepare for that, we don't use Kuki Shinobu's skill and use her burst instead to detonate the last few cores before he flies away. And now we have a few Bloom Seeds on the ground near the middle, and we can even generate a few more by shooting the Crab with Kole and using our coordinated attacks with Sincho. And now we're just going to let the seeds do the job. And boom, the Crab is already back down, allowing us to go back to dealing damage. And the rest of the fight is pretty straightforward, we just try to dish out as much damage as possible. I also want to point out that once we get to the build section, you will see my Kale is on a 2-piece Deepwood 2-piece emblem. That was not on purpose, but it worked out anyway, so it doesn't matter. And finally, if you have Nahida, she will definitely make the fight easier here, and even without Nahida, double Hydro is usually better than double Dendro here. Also, Nilo is very good here, and Alhaitham Quay Bloom is alright. And finally, we have the infamous Fatui guy. First, we generate as much energy as we can before he gets his shield and funnel some Favonius to Fischl. Then we switch to Neuvillette, and you will notice I squeeze in a normal attack before and after my charge attacks in the initial setup for some extra Hydro. I also always use the short hold skill on Kazuha since I noticed it helps breaking the shield a bit faster. Then we have enough energy to use all of our bursts and break the shield. We do one charge attack with Neuvillette before quickly reapplying VV and resummoning Oz, and then we use 2 more charge attacks on Neuvillette. And just after that, the boss will wake up, and very important, he will immediately attack us with pyro attacks, so we use Kazuha's burst to infuse it with pyro here. This is a big deal because it will allow Neuvillette to get his 3rd Draconic stack even at C0, significantly increasing his damage. You will notice I also skipped Kazuha's skill here so I can use it right after my setup is finished, just before going back to Neuvillette. Then the goal is just to deal as much damage as possible before he puts his shield again, and we have to make sure to keep track of Oz. We want to keep Kazuha's burst for his next shield phase though, and also be careful to not get knocked out of your charge attacks on Neuvillette. As the boss spawns his shield again, we use Kazuha's burst right away with some more short hold skills, make sure Oz stays on the field as much as possible, deal some damage with Neuvillette, and after reaching the 3rd shield, we set everything up for Neuvillette, Farina's burst, Kazuha's skill and everything, so we can start dealing maximum damage right as the shield breaks with the last few seconds on the timer. Anyway, that was it for the video. Of course, no offense to the original comment, I just thought it would be fun to try, and I had a feeling it was possible. I will have to say though, usually I don't use any 5-star weapons in my videos, but this time I had to make a small exception for Fischl. She is using an R1 Skyward Harp here because I was missing just a bit of damage with Stringless. I do think it would be possible without Skyward Harp if I had slightly better builds, but unfortunately my artifacts have a few too many dead rolls for that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope it will help some of you, I wish you good luck on your Stygian Onslaught clears, and I'll see you in the next one, bye bye!